Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Quincy, and this is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Ways and Means Committee, joined by Council Members Yang, Palmisano, Council Vice President Glidden, and Council Member Johnson. I understand Council Member Bender will be here in a few moments as she's attending another meeting at the city's needs. So we'll begin. I think we have 21 items on our agenda today. Most of them are on consent items, and we'll just read through that agenda really quickly. The first is from the City Attorney's Office, a settlement. A convention center brings forward a low bid for Minnesota One Construction for the snow plowing and removal service. Finance and Property Services Department is bringing forward several items. One is a contract amendment with Crown Roller. This is an extension of a 2-year lease agreement with additional options for renewal. And the next item that they have is item number 4 is a resolution accepting the second quarter gifts for the city of Minneapolis. And the 5th item is the Nicollet Mall project financing, authorizing releasing a request for proposal to solicit bids and a passage of a resolution declaring the city's intent to finance the mall project with tax-exempt bonds. The Information Technology Department brings forward an item related to an extension with Taser International and VEIVU for body camera data storage. And then we have several items referred from the Executive Committee. These are related to 4 different titles, positions. First, I'd like to thank, of course, all the department heads and leaders who brought forward these thoughtful requests, and of course for HR's work in thorough and responsive way to guide the project and to provide those recommendations. And they are for the appointed position of Director of Complaint Investigations and Investigation and Civil Rights, the appointed position of Director of Budget, and the appointed position of Deputy Director, Information Technology Services. I'd like to offer some clarifying language that I think my colleagues have in front of them, if I can find that. This clarifies some of the language that was used in the Executive Committee, kind of brings it up to date on item number 9. This adds 2 appointed positions within the existing approved title, Deputy Director, Information Technology Services, finding that the proposed positions meet the criteria, approving adding 2 additional positions within the existing appointed title of Deputy Director, Information Technology Services at a grade 13, and there's no change to the previously adopted salary schedule for the title. Annual step movement is authorized for those incumbents provided satisfactory or better performance. Those are for that's for item number 9, and then appointed position number 10 is the Director of Information and Technology Services. Item number 11 is referred from Public Safety, Civil Rights, and Emergency Management Committee, and that's the accepting a grant in the amount of $1,300 for CenterPoint Energy 2015 Community Partnership Grant, and as well as executing a contract with the University of Minnesota College of Veterinary Medicine for a canine vet care contract with the U. Item number 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 are all from Transportation and Public Works Committee. This is the number 13 is the Special Service Districts 2015 Operating Plan and Budget Amendments. Item number 14 is the Minnesota Department of Transportation Routine Maintenance Agreement. 15 is for bid for thermoplastic pavement marking materials. 16 is the bid for Leach and Loadmaster Packer Parts and Service. That's kind of a fun tongue twister. Item number 17 is a bid for bicycle lane improvements. 18 is the Federal Highway Safety Improvement Funds for bike projects. And let's see, we also have referred from the City Council, July 24 meeting is the receive and file of the 2014 State of Minnesota Office of State Auditor Management and Compliance Report for the City of Minneapolis. Are there any questions or comments on those 19 items? Not seeing any, I'll move all 19 for approval. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And those items carry. We do have two discussion items today. The first is it's going to be a continuation of our conversation we've had on the City of Minneapolis and the Responsible Banking Ordinance, an update. And we've invited our treasurer, Bruce Plant, to join us. So, Mr. Plant, whenever you're ready.
All right, very good. Good afternoon, Chair Quincy and council members. I'm Bruce Plant, the City Treasurer. I'm giving an update today on the activities around the responsible banking here at the City of Minneapolis. And here are the topics I'll be discussing. In October of 2013, the City Council approved the revised Responsible Banking Ordinance, which required responses from financial institutions which participate in the provision of banking services to the city. The information required concerns home mortgages, small business loans, and other investment activities in the city. I'm pleased to report that both of the city's banks, U.S. Bank and Wells Fargo, received the highest rating available from the Federal Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the overseer for both of these acts, in their current reporting period. All responses that we received were on time, July 1st, and have been posted on the city's website as stipulated in the ordinance. Treasury performed an analysis of the compliance of the information provided and posted that on the website as well. I've included the link here for your convenience. All responses included the most current information available and were considered complete with the exception of one question, 3E, from Wells Fargo, which does not track this data or it is not publicly available. Next on our agenda, we have a council direction from this committee as a part of the new banking services contract with Wells Fargo, which was implemented April 1st of this year. It requested an updated back to this committee. Several meetings occurred with the City of Minneapolis, which included Finance and Property Services Division, Community Planning and Economic Development Departments, as well as Wells Fargo to further this direction. The framework themes that were arrived at were diversity of the bank's workforce, preserving home values in Minneapolis, as well as supporting the city affordable housing and improving small business loans for local women and minority-owned businesses. Lastly, there is a responsible banking study being conducted by the University of Minnesota, Dr. Myers. The study relies on the City of Minneapolis Responsible Banking Ordinance disclosures as well as other information in an attempt to rank the banks for responsibility. The final report is due soon, and there is a city study session that is scheduled for August 20th from 10 a.m. to noon in this room. Thank you for the opportunity to present this update, and I stand ready to take any questions.
Good. Thank you very much, Mr. Plant. Are there questions or comments from committee members? Not seeing any. I wouldn't want to leave you hanging, so thanks for bringing this report forward. What this does is really, for the public's benefit, understanding, is to how's our responsible banking ordinance being implemented. And as part of those banking services, we passed that staff direction that Mr. Plant referred to, coming back to this committee with how's it going? Are we establishing that framework? And I think so much of that framework didn't have to do as much with the financial services package. It really talked about other economic development and housing needs within the city that we're interested in having Wells Fargo, in this case, work as a partner in that effort. So I wonder if, I know Ms. Brennan has joined us. Andrea Brennan is our housing director at CPED, and I think it's a great way for both of our departments to be talking about this jointly. So if you'd like to make any comments about the framework, adding to whatever Mr. Plant did, you're welcome to do so.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Leadership at CPED, including CPED Director of Economic Development, and myself, met a number of times and went through identified a long list of initiatives that we thought were really important for Wells Fargo to be participating in. And we met with them, as Mr. Plant mentioned, a number of times. And really what we learned is that everything on our list are things that Wells Fargo is already doing. So I think it's an important checkpoint to have this staff direction. It keeps us on top of what they're doing. And one of the things I'd like to call out specifically is that Wells Fargo has been a very strong supporter of the Homeownership Opportunity Alliance, which is the Minnesota Homeownership Center. It's an organization that the city supports to provide foreclosure prevention counseling and homeownership education and counseling as well. And they have been a big funder of this organization and the specific initiative to reduce the racial homeownership disparity gap rates and funding it and being a leader, a private industry leader involved in this discussion. So, we appreciate the work that they're doing in all of these areas and just need to continue to monitor it and hope and encourage them to continue with what they're doing.
Right. Thank you very much. I think that the idea of establishing that framework adds some specificity to what we're looking for. And so I really appreciate housing, and I see Mr. Lind has joined leading a lot of the economic development activities around working with Wells Fargo, because they're our banking services provider. So this is an important opportunity for the city to really work on issues that are important on so many of our goals and values. So thank you for that. Are there any questions or comments from committee members on that? Not seeing any. I think I'll move to receive and file this update, and we look forward to next year. All those in favor of receive and file, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That item carries. Thank you very much. Our final discussion item today is related to the contract increase for Unisys Managed Services. This is obviously a significant contract. When you're talking about $6.5 million, it's a pretty good time to shed a little light for the public benefit as well as ours. But Mr. Dahl, if you could lead off that discussion, happy to.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Quincy, members of the committee. Otto Dahl, CIO for the city. Back in 2007, the city negotiated a contract with Unisys for managed services of our data processing world. And that 5-year contract was also extended in 2010 through the end of this year. Over the course of those 8 years, there are a number of resources that the city has added to meet new and expanding applications of technology across the departments. And so those additional servers, database computers, storage for the city's information turns around and gets charged to the account. We made an agreement with council to periodically go and basically adjust and true up the contract amount, which is exactly what we're doing with this action, to true up the contract at the end of its life, which is December 31st of this year. In essence, what we're trying to accomplish is the ability for us to continue to write checks for the remainder of the year, because we have accounted for these dollars in the IT's department's operating budget. So hence, we're not asking for dollars. All we're doing is asking for the contract to have a sufficient cap that will allow us to finish out using the contract through this year. And if there's any questions, be more than happy to answer.
Thank you. I appreciate, I remember going through the budget process last year. We wanted to make sure that the resources were available to do this kind of parallel system as we're ending one contract and starting a new agreement with other vendors, as well as bringing some services in-house. So I'm pleased that we were able to anticipate those, and that your department has done a great job of handling that transition. Any other questions or comments on this particular item? Not seeing any. I'd be happy to move approval of the contract increase with Unisys Managed Services as outlined. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item carries. Thank you very much for the presentation and for the action. And with that, Madam Clerk, are we finished with our agenda? Is there any other changes that I need to make? Good. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.